one of the questions that I hope we talk about on today's call is really, where does cure fit within our lives? I think it's a completely under-resourced question that is not being asked of the research. I think, and that's one of the major barriers when you talk about getting folks, especially women, enrolled into cure trials. You haven't even addressed where it fits within the context of our daily reality.
Right. And I find that that's something that everyone needs to grapple with.
Absolutely.
People who are going to be talking to people who live with HIV, I really feel like they at least have a job to know a little bit about the research. They don't have to know everything, but they should be able to relay to people what's going on. So if anyone is coming by with them, it's sort of the way I approach when PrEP first hit this. You should start thinking about how you can make this accessible to your community, because that's what it's going to really take. And about
it. Here's something that's coming in the pipeline that may be useful in the context of everyday lives, but a diffusion of innovation, it's slow. It's absolutely slow. So
yeah, and you know, another thing with the thing about HIV, the research, you know, the researchers, their feedbacks, a lot of times it's really going to be difficult, you know, explaining it at the community. There's so many complex things with the way they bring the research, you know. There's so many areas they are pursuing. I know I've listened to a few, but they're saying, okay, I think there are so many avenues that they are looking at approaching the cure. There's those that are looking at immune prompts, there are those that are looking at some drugs. That just when you want to start explaining those technicalities to the community, as far as they're concerned, cure, get this out. But when you now look at there is this way, I don't know. It's going to take a lot of work to break it down.
Absolutely. Well, see, that's one of our touch points. That's where my job is. That's where I take place. And right, you needed to get to communities that need to, you know, access to the science and access to the information. But if you're not presenting it in a jargon or in a language or in a dialogue that's friendly to community, over their heads, they'll never buy into what you say, even if it's a benefit.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you make a point. They hear this. We need to share this conversation. This is good feedback.
Yes.
No, because you need to understand something before you start demanding or advocating for it. You need to have a grasp of it. You know, that's when it will make sense.
It totally.
And I think that may be one of the biggest barriers when you talk about women's participation in any kind of trial. Where grassroots education, representative education, woman to woman. Talk to me about what this means for my participation in this study from someone who looks like me and may come from where I come from. That's how trust.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, should we get started?
We've already been started.
I know, but I know we have been, and I believe me, that's why this is all recording. But we should at least officially introduce ourselves in case anyone actually will watch this video.
Okay, and this is going to be like how many minutes?
As long as we want it to be. So the video, it does not have to be any length of time. There's no set. So if it was 10 minutes and we got everything done in 10 minutes, that would be done. If it takes us, I'm thinking it'll be about 20 to 30 minutes, you know, but if we have a juicy conversation, it goes on for long, we'll go as long as it goes. So I'm one who likes to follow the organic processes.
Okay.
Right. So I'm going to start off and I'm going to say hello to everyone who might be tuning in here. And I'm going to put this on. There we go, like that, so I can see all three of us together. So my name is Michael LOUELLA. I use they, them, their pronouns. And I am talking to you all from Seattle, Washington in the US of A. And I am the Community Engagement Project Manager for defeatHIV, which is one of the Martin Delaney collaboratories that's working on HIV cure research, specifically on cell and gene therapy approaches.
So,
go ahead.
Okay. Go ahead. My name is Bukola Ayinde. And you can call me Buki for short. That appears long. I'm in Nigeria. I'm a Nigerian. And I'm a member of AfroCAB, African Community Advisory Board in Nigeria. I work basically around treatment. I work providing treatment support in all areas in terms of adherence, in terms of community engagement, You know, I work to provide treatment for people living with HIV. I engage community on the area of treatments by providing treatment literacy and education, you know, and then promoting access to drugs, all HIV, all things that involve HIV care, and assessing drugs, assessing laboratory monitoring. You know, that's what I do.
Great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So good evening, good afternoon, good morning. My name is Danielle Campbell, and I'm an HIV advocate based here in Los Angeles. The focus of my advocacy is women's sexual reproductive health rights and justice through a lens of HIV advocacy. I work squarely in the space of translation and translational research. So I take lots of the study findings that come out of the HIV research networks around prevention, treatment, and cure, and work to rapidly disseminate that information in a culturally and linguistically appropriate way to communities who may benefit from the research participation.
That's wonderful. And, you know, I always think it's interesting that community members get involved in HIV research somehow, some way. And so I wanted to ask each of you, what led you to get involved as a community member into HIV research? What was it that led you there?
Well, for me personally, because I have a lot of contacts with patients, you know, and a lot of time I see a lot of things that are not done right. You know, and I get a lot of responses, you know, from the patients, and I find myself in a position that I have to provide a lot of information because it's like they look upon me for a lot of things, and so I have to force to seek information, you know, to be able to be equipped to be able to address some of their issues, because I find that if you are able to answer some of their questions, correct some of their needs, alleviate some of their fears, it helps to make them provide a better treatment outcome, you know, for them. So, because I want to know and I want to be in a position to interpret and explain things to the patients at the level which they understand, you know, kind of be like an intermediary to some of the national bigger policy issue and be able to bring it to the grassroots for them to grasp and understand. So.
Great response, Buki. I think so. Mine, not to copy your whole like dialogue, it's sort of in the same place. I think, you know, my own personal experiences with HIV have led me to this space of equity, understanding or attempting to understand what structures of power have done to influence women's increased risk of HIV, and sort of unpacking what that means. Like, it boggled my mind that over 50% of the global cases of HIV were amongst women. And yet when you juxtapose that to participation in clinical research trials, it's like, or in treatment trials specifically, it's like 20%, pretty standard since the inception of networks, except when you see a blip when there were women-specific studies that were enrolling. And just as someone whose pedagogy is deeply rooted in public health aspects, I couldn't wrap my mind around it. So I started to work more to understand and peel back those layers to really get at some of those root causes of inequity, to understand why women just are not represented in trials. And that work has led me to meet tons and tons of great people from around the globe and, you know, speak on platforms that I would not have otherwise had access to raise the alarms about what's really should be happening when you talk about women and our participation in trials, cure, treatment, prevention across the board, and that lack of equity.
So what should be happening?
There should be reflective representation. Are you serious? Like, what in the world? It makes common sense, right? That if you have something that that affects this large population of people, we should construct, we should design, we should implement trials where these people, these women, are represented at equal rates. It defies logic that we would work against what we know to be a measure of reciprocity, right?
Right.
And so really understanding what some of the I guess, societal norms around not affording women the same, opportunity to participate as other groups who could benefit from some of the findings that come out of these research networks. Like, these are multi-million-dollar endeavors, and to exclude an entire swath of people,
right?
I think I could live with it.
Yeah, and none of us.
That's very, very important, because considering the fact that there are a lot of issues with women, that if they are not fully represented in research, there are some things that won't come out. I mean, issue of pregnancy, a lot of hormonal issues, There are peculiar things about women that if they are not fully represented in research, you might not really, and consider the fact that they form a larger part of the people that will benefit, in people that are affected by HIV. So you might not be able to translate that research, get a right a right result or from the research to translate into treatments or whatever for the women. So if women are more affected by HIV, then the onus is on research to include them more, so as be able to get something right for them.
Absolutely. And I think that's where the voices of women like us are critical. We, it's critical for us to show up to our sites, to represent our communities and have these dialogues, tired, browbeaten, exhausted from daily existence, to continue this work. We continue on no matter what, because there is no other sort of representation at the table to fight for us.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what do you think some of the things that we've had in place that are the barriers that are keeping women from getting involved more? What do you think are some of the things that are keeping women from getting involved more in research?
Well, one of the things could actually be in terms of from the time the research are being designed, do they make plans for women inclusion? What's the proportion of women that were planned to be part of the research, or they expected to be part of the research? That's one thing. Then another is how much awareness is being created to let them know that such a thing is going on. How well are researchers able to reach out, so that more women will be able to respond to be part of the research. So, and there are also issues of because women are usually engaged in so many things, and as women, as mothers, as the housekeepers and things like that. So also having time to the rigors and all what research entails to meet up, can also be a barrier, for women. And I know, a lot of times there are what you call exclusion. Probably somebody is pregnant,
yes,
which are women issues, So those are also things that could prevent women, from being part of research or.
I'd agree. I think just to sort of add to that, when you talk about some of the exclusion criteria, almost without certainty, you'll see pregnancy or some iteration of the ability to consume 2 forms of contraception.
Yeah.
That off the top, it will exclude pretty much every woman I know. And it's more so this attitude of patriarchy that tells you must control your ability to become pregnant in order to have access to science. That's one that, sort of makes me turn off. And then the other thing is lack of representation. Talk about these multi-million-dollar funded studies from these institutions and infrastructure. How many of the actual scientists are women? How many focus groups or how many discussions were had in advance when before study had reached 1.0 or activation phase were had with women? How many of our, opinions and how much of our feedback was actually captured into the life of the study? And so if we are consistently tuning that out or not engaging women in a meaningful way, we can see it when the protocols roll out. And if the first thing on the exclusion criteria is the ability to not control my ability to become pregnant, me and pretty much all of my colleagues will turn it out. It's done. Okay. The science will not touch my life. I won't benefit from it. I'll wait to see a divided access come from a federal entity where everybody but my population will have access to this technology. Right,
but your population's the majority.
Yeah. Put you back in this place where you're like, this is not real. This cannot be happening. This can't be. And then as someone new to the work and new to this experience, you look back in the history of HIV and it's pretty much standard. It's standard to exclude women. And I can't say with certainty that I always understand why, but it sort of reifies my role here to continue to amplify the voices of women.
Mm-hmm. And so when it comes to cure, that's even going to be more troubling because I know that we have already learned a little bit about the sex differences and that the role that women's hormones might play in terms of the formation of the reservoir of HIV in their body and the clearance of that reservoir or the potential clearance of that reservoir. It might be affected by their hormonal levels in ways that are different than men. And if we don't study these elimination tactics in both men and women, we're not going to know if it works for women. We need to do it in women, and we need to make it work for women, because there would be nothing worse than to come up with a cure that didn't work for the majority of the people who have HIV.
Terrible. You're terrible.
Yes.
Terrible.
We get it.
Yeah.
That's why I think when the opportunity to be part of this discussion came across immediately, I was like, boom, I'm in.
Yeah.
Let's do it. This message will hopefully reach far and wide across the swath of interlocutors that do this work.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully policymakers, funders, most importantly, will hear this and develop language that will be included in these proposals to say you have to have a minimum threshold of, this sex, this gender to be included in your trial in order for you to be funded or have meaningful results.
Right. And that's cisgender women as well as transgender women. We have all sorts of women to take into concerns.
And Michael, I mean, if you ask me, I'll tell you that I think women need this cure more than men.
Yeah.
Women need this cure more than men. And I think, so anything that is looking towards a cure research should actually have a women target and a women focus thing, because with the issue of PMTCT, there is a cure. It's going to prevent women having children who are positive, and like we have also stated, there are more women affected by HIV than men. Mm-hmm. So I think women really need this cure more than men, if you ask me.
There's that equity issue again.
Right. Yeah. So amongst the women that you know in your life, Buki, how many of them do you think know about HIV cure research or have a minimal understanding of what's going on?
Well, it's a really, really low number. A really, really low number. I don't know. I don't want to say 5%. I don't even want to say, I see a lot of women approach me on regular basis and say, when is there going to be a cure to this? When is there going to be a cure to this? And I'm tired of taking drugs. I'm tired of taking drugs. I'm tired of not being able to talk about my status. I'm tired of visiting the clinic all the time. I've had more women asking me, where is there going to be a cure, but not really have an idea of what's going on as regards the cure research.
So they definitely have a desire for it, but they don't have necessarily a connection to any sort of information that's accessible to them and easy to understand that gives them updates of where cure is.
Yes.
And then, Eileen Scully and Corinne Dubé did some great research with 853, I think, what is it, 66?
Yes.
That demonstrated that when women are asked to participate in cure trials, it was like the fastest enrolling women in the ACTG. So there's proof of concept, in language that scientists will understand. There's proof of concept there that if you ask women to participate, you inform them about what's going on in the study, and the study team is culturally and linguistically reflective,
Mm-hmm.
There's something there. There is something there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that personally I want to see more information translated into simple terms, taking these complex ideas, bringing them simply to people so they understand, because I find that in my interactions with people online is that they don't understand these difficult concepts, so they really don't have any idea of why it might take a certain amount of time for a cure to come about, because they don't even have the beginnings of the understandings. And so I think we're failing people by not creating something that's really accessible and easy to read, easy to translate into another language.
It's interesting that you say that. I know there's a curriculum that was available as like a resource tool. It is and front-facing, easily acceptable if you have internet connection. It's on the AVAC website.
Right.
It's a resource tool. It's not translated.
It's actually going to be in our Global Village booth. We have 5 resources, and I put like 10 resources in each of them. So they're these really long PDFs that have all different things. And I included a section on the curriculum that has like basically a hyperlink that you could click on the basics of cure research, and it'll take you to that web page that AVAC has up. So there is a sheet that will have all of that for people. So if you are watching this video and our global booth, look at our resource section. You'll be able to download that one. You can download all of them. They're all different things that way.
Mm-hmm. And
that would be nice.
Yeah.
You know, for treatment, there's been so much progress in terms of treatment literacy that even the lay person, the not so educated person, could actually give you a description of what HIV does to their body and how their drug prevents HIV. You know, there are even pictorial, things. Mm-hmm. So you when you are a patient is starting treatment and you are providing, there are very different levels of way that you make examples that it sticks and help the patient. And even when you are talking to them about adherence, they are giving you feedback. The image of the information, education given to them, they are able to give you a feedback that makes you know that they understand their treatment. So if we could have something like that, that involves a lot of focus on treatment literacy, around HIV research. That's go a long way.
Yes. Well, hopefully we will have that. So I know that there's some work with this that we're going to be doing and starting and trying to get the next iteration of community-friendly tools revamped so that we can then promote them and give them to everyone, or at least make people know where they exist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Education is one of the biggest barriers to any aspect of HIV research.
Yeah. And it's been something that has been missing, I think. I mean, we've done it a little bit, but it didn't really go that far, at least not yet. But
yes, not good.
Yes, it's not good. So, Buki, let me ask you, what questions do you have about cure? What questions come across your mind when you hear the word HIV cure?
Well, questions that...
or your impression.
Yeah, I look like, how visible is this, because from a few things I've heard about HIV research, I know so much effort has been put into it, but it's looking like HIV cure is really a difficult thing, that... for treatments, it's so easy to come up with different drugs. I mean, you have one drug this year. In a year, you could have 2 new drugs. New drugs are coming up regularly. But then with HIV cure, I'm just looking at this looks so difficult. And then considering the fact that it's something that affects the body immune system, the natural body, I'm just thinking, what's going to be the way around to conquer this, How would this? It appears difficult, but then not impossible. That's just what comes to mind.
Cool. And how about with you, Danielle?
Sheesh. I think the first thing for me is always the time factor. It's always, okay, so when is the cure coming? And who will have access to it? Is it going to be, you know, stalemated in the resource-rich countries? Will, you know, resource-limited settings have access where there's literally the most need for folks to have an access to HIV cure? Is it going to be scalable? Is it going to be something that we can reach into the, you know, the flatlands to give to folks, to the mountains, to every aspect of every corner of the earth? So those are, I think, the sort of three things that come to me. Who will have access? What will be the cost? And when? When?
Right. When?
Common discussions that we have with folks in the community when we talk about HIV cure.
All the time.
Yep.
All the time. Yeah. And one of my own personal fears is that we're going to see something happen that was like what happened when Hep C medicines came out. They were priced way beyond anyone's reach, and only people with health insurance were getting them. So it wasn't going to the populations that needed them most. And it seemed like it was just, I mean, it seems like they've picked up the ball now and we've gotten better with it, but still, I just fear that happening with cure, that it's going to be the same way that PrEP has rolled out, that the white guys in the affluent countries will get it first, and the other people,
everybody else at some point in history.
Exactly. And that just seems like we cannot do the same thing. We need to learn from our less than stellar ways and learn how to do it better and make it in such a way that we can get it to these people at the same time. And it shouldn't be dependent upon someone's health insurance. We should have it already being worked on as we're working on the cure and getting it to that final rollout. We should be working on the ways we're going to roll it out to countries. And we should be making sure that we target the countries that have such a high prevalence and incidence of HIV. They should be getting it before other people.
Agreed. I think, you know, again, we're all on one accord in this regard.
Yeah.
So that, again, points to why you need reflective advocacy as part of these groups. We should not be talking about anything HIV cure related and we don't have representation from the continent. It goes against, like, it's a counter narrative. It goes against what we know to be so. These are folks who will benefit most directly and most greatly from a cure, but they're not often involved in conversations, which is why, you know, Buki, it's great that you were able to take time out of your day. I know it's late where you live to join this discussion. Michael and I are here in America, and it's, you know, relatively early on the West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
So you've worked a full day, and you probably have a bunch of other stuff that you have to do, but just know that we are appreciative of your taking time to join this dialogue.
Yes, thank you. So what advice would you give to a woman who wants to get involved with a cure research study?
Well, like any other research, well, such a woman needs to understand what she's getting into. You know, what risks are involved. It needs to be made clear to her so that she knows what she's getting into, and that there shouldn't be unnecessary promises. You know, not people telling somebody, okay, this is likely to cure you. You know, let her understand this is a research which might go, you know, either way. These are the risks and these are the likely benefits. So I'm for the fact that research participants generally should have a clear understanding of where they are getting into, what they are getting into, and be protected, you know, throughout the research period, you know, and of course have the option to opt out when they don't feel like, you know. Another thing I know that it always appears that when they're doing this cure research, that I don't know, but it always boils down that people don't get enough information, or that people are unduly induced or giving undue false hope to lure them to be parts of the research. But I think if people have a better understanding of the benefit it has for the populace, you know, even for them, you don't need to coerce or force anybody into a research. People will voluntarily, you know, offer to be part of the research if they haven't, and they know that they are not at risk, or that if anything goes wrong, they will be cared for. So I think that's what's most important.
And Danielle, what would you, how would you counsel a woman who might come up to you saying, "Hey, I'm thinking about getting involved with the CURE study"?
I think I'm flat in line with what Buki said. Definitely having a quick conversation about what her level of understanding is and participating in that trial. If she understands what the implication of the study regimen or proposed study treatment plan looks like, and a concrete assessment of her own current care status. So if she's on treatment, if she's virally suppressed, and then really assessing her understanding of what it means to be part of this study in specific, and then a warm handoff to someone from the study team. Hopefully that's, appropriate to her. That connection, that facilitation is super important to know. You have a hand to one of the study investigators or somebody at the site who is friendly enough to take time to the study means, and then most importantly, understanding that there may or may not be a direct clinical benefit from participating in this trial. However, your participation will contribute to the compendium of knowledge as we move forward to study other techniques associated with CURE. And then really, really important, understanding that there will be care available if something goes as part of participation. That's critical. That, I think, is the pivotal moment. It's what we should keep our eye firmly on.
And
let me also say, Michael, that it would be nice. I don't know what the past research, CURE research has been like, but it would also be nice to have a community component where, as researcher and technical people talk to the participants, they should have a community component that can talk to them and they can freely give feedback, because there are some things they might not be able to say, or they might not be able to grasp with the technical thing, but they should have a community component that's like protecting them. They will know that this is a person who's got our back, in this research. They will feel free to express themselves, probably give some feedback that will help the research, and things like that. So I think that's also important.
Would you think a community advisory board could fulfill that role? And I'm not saying for people to join that, but like a member of a CAB, would that be a person? Because usually I look at CAB members as people who have people's back. They're there to really protect human participants. And look out for participants.
Yeah, I expect that there should actually be a community advisory board. That's fine. But I'm talking about a community part of the researcher that is on ground and also following through. I know the CAB member will meet occasionally, and give suggestions, but somebody who is on ground and follow through and probably part of the research, but who is coming from the community angle, and
patient representative.
Right.
Yeah, that's more meaningful representation.
Gotcha. Great point.
Got it. So what? We'll sort of try to wrap up here. What do you think is the one thing that we should start working on first for women in terms of HIV cure? There's lots of different issues that are facing us that we've brought up, but what is the one first place you think we should start if we want to see more women be able to be enrolled and participate and find that equity that we've been talking about in cure research? Where should we start?
Meaningful engagement with women.
Okay. Go on, Danielle.
I think just quite simply, the meaningful engagement of women. Like, you have to come talk to us. You have to, from the outset, understand and accept wholeheartedly. And when I say accept, that acceptance should be in the I guess in the remuneration of your efforts to engage us. Understanding that women don't lead single issue lives. And if you understand and accept that from the outset, and you are prepared to offer and not just come to the table to ask and take away, then you have a more meaningful dialogue with women. But you have to come to us first. We've been engaging this work for as long as this work was work. And so now it's time for the researchers to come to where we live and where we work and where we love, to engage us in a meaningful way.
Cool. Buki, what do you think?
Yeah, I quite agree with that, you know, and like you said, engagements, and then all through the life cycle. I mean, from inception, while you are conceiving, you know, not somewhere along the line, right from when it's been planned, you know, right through to implementation, even when it gets operational. So, you know, I think that's nice, so that I know for treatment, you know, there have been times we have, I walk around treatment. We've sat down with pharmaceuticals right from inception, where they're designing their drugs. And they've come to ask the community, I mean, what's your ideal ARV drug? What do you want to see? You know, when people talk about the convenience of usage, the things they don't want. So I think for cure too, you know, if people could be brought along, all along through, from inception, when ideas are being conceived, to even development of the research, and onto when it's been implemented, that would be great.
Cool. Well, I wanted to end this by giving you each a chance to say something that we may not have been able to bring up, which could be anything, whether it's a point or if it's a question or if it's just a statement or a comment that you wanted to make. I wanted to give you each the chance so you guys close it and not have me be the one to close it.
Okay, let me ask you this question. That like, I know HIV is a viral infection, and quite a lot of the some of the viral infections we have, like hepatitis, you know, and even herpes, you know, there's this, like, it doesn't go away, you know, that you know, but you could keep it dormant, and the like. So that makes me sometimes look at HIV that, okay, how visible is the eradication, you know? And that comes to my little doubts about cure, or my I don't know, not doubt, but my not my hope around cure, that would, okay, so like all those viral infections that won't really go away, but there will be a way to control it, you know, better or something like that. So far from the research, what exactly is the point around that?
Should I answer?
Yeah.
Well, it's definitely, you hit it there. That is probably the fundamental obstacle to considering someone cured, whether it's a total elimination of every viral particle from their body, or it's something different, like a long-term control without needing to go on with ART any longer. That viral reservoir, as we like to call it, that latent HIV, that dormant HIV, 1 out of every million cells has HIV. And just think of that. That's how do you find those? I think that's really what the difficulty is in cure. And so all of the ideas that we have that even might work in a test tube situation, the real big goal is going to be translating that into the human body. You know, so you might have your gene therapy that's in a needle that you can give as an injection, but how is that gene therapy going to find every cell that has HIV? Because as we've learned from some of the younger cases and the pediatric cases, it may look like they're cured and it may be 2 or 3 years go by, but then it always seems like it comes back unless there's something that protects the cells from getting infected once that HIV wakes up, which is what cured Timothy Brown, because he had his immune system basically destroyed, and then he had the donor cells the stem cells from someone else who was naturally resistant to HIV, put into his body, and they regrew a new immune system. And therefore, his new immune system couldn't be infected. So whatever HIV his old cells had, they couldn't infect the new cells. And so he might still have HIV somewhere locked in a pocket in his body. I don't think we'll ever really know. Yeah, you know, but it's amazing that that's the big stumbling block. And you seem to have a real good understanding of that, I think. That's it.
So it has this really awesome sort of allegory that he tells us.
I get it.
Yeah. A field of daisy.
Mm-hmm. Right. That field of flowers, and only one. Like, so if you've ever seen like tulips here in Washington State, we have big tulip farms. So you'll have these large expanses of beautiful purple. And then every once in a while, you'll see a white one in the middle of that purple. Because of the way the genetics work out, that one is just the aberrant. That's like the HIV. But if HIV stood out like that, if HIV was like that cell, like, and your cell turned white, or it had green spots on it or something, we'd be able to find those cells. The problem is that it's going to look all like those purple tulips. There's not going to be a single so you have to figure out a way of waking it up, getting it to express itself so the medicines can recognize it, or so the ART can recognize it. It is very difficult. And I think people would have a better understanding of how long cure is going to take if we could explain how difficult that is in a simple way, when people could get it. Like, oh,
it's sounding difficult already, the way you're saying it. It's sounding difficult.
No, and when I do it, I have a picture. Like, I wish I could pull it up right now. I have a picture. I just show a big field of flowers. Each flower is your cell, one of your cells. And here's the white one. And if that's how it was, you'd be able to see it. But the problem is that you can't tell that white one from the other ones because it doesn't stick out that way. But yeah, verbally it doesn't work the same way. It's a nonverbal lesson.
But it's an effective visual tool.
And it's visual. And I think that's what we need, visual tool.
Yep.
Yeah.
Working.
Right.
It stuck with me all these years later.
So Danielle, what would you like to say as in closing for us?
Women now. It's more than the time. I think recent activities in the universe have shown us what happens when, structures and systems continue to ignore those who are most at risk or who are most impacted. I think risk can be a really tricky phrase to conceptualize, but I think, something that we can all relate to is impact. And if we continue to ignore, and when I say we, I mean systems of power like research networks and other funders and folks who control the means by which people living with HIV are subject to, rely on to simply survive day to day, you continue to ignore those that are at highest impact, then, you will be reminded rather robustly in ways that may be uncomfortable for you to understand that it is time for a shift in the way we engage women and other people who are who may stand to benefit from these trials, and we need to include them. So speaking from someone who represents women, I think it's high time that we shift the way we think and address the non-single issue lives of women to be included and engaged in a meaningful way in these clinical research trials.
Beautiful. Women now.
Yeah. Women now, yeah.
Well, I wanted to thank you both for having this conversation with me. And I hope that we will be able to continue having this conversation, and we'll be adding more women to it, and we'll be creating a tidal wave that will be splashing upon the shores everywhere on this earth until we finally do get the visions that we see manifest. So, yes, much love to both of you. Thank you very much. And we will end.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Danielle. Bye. Bye.
Ciao, Bella.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.